I found out my family erased me. Then I exposed the truth at a reunion. I'm Robert Turner, 38 years old, and I work as a technical writer for a software company in Chicago. My job is all about clarity, explaining complex things so people can understand them. Maybe that's why it hurts so much when my own family acts like I don't exist. I used to joke that I was my family's favorite extra. There in the background, blurry but technically present. Rob's here. Mom would say at holidays, like she'd located a set of keys she wasn't sure she'd lost. I always brought something, flowers for her, a new game for the nieces, the good olives Henry likes. And someone would pat my shoulder and set the gift on a counter like evidence of a delivery. The conversation would flow around me like I was a decorative fountain. Nice to look at, easy to tune out. Don't be so sensitive. Mom would laugh whenever I said I felt left out. We tease because we love. That was the family's holy scripture. Any cruelty, if wrapped in a giggle, was a joke. Like the time my birthday got moved to a group text where everyone posted a thumbs-up emoji and Henry wrote, LOL, almost forgot about the spare child. He swore it was humor. I swore I tasted blood. I kept showing up anyway. It's a reflex, I guess. Kids learn to bring offerings to the altar that ignores them. When Dad had his knee surgery, I took 3 days off work, slept in a vinyl chair, and handled the meds chart no one else could be bothered to read. When Mia needed last-minute cupcakes for her class, I iced paw prints at 2 a.m. The next day the group chat raved about Aunt Jenna's cookies. I sent a little smiley face and told myself it didn't matter whose name was on the box. The reunion started as a rumor. Save the date. Mom texted in March. Family homecoming in June. Everyone invited. Double exclamation points, triple heart emojis, 0 details. I offered to help. No response. Weeks passed. In May, Henry accidentally sent a message to the siblings-only thread and then immediately unsent it. A preview lingered. Let's keep it simple, no drama. Under it, a bullet list, catering, slideshow, name tags. I asked, hey, what do I bring? The chat went silent long enough to grow mold. On the day, I ironed a shirt anyway. I picked up a tray of samosas, Mom's favorite, and took an Uber to the rented hall. The driver, a talky guy named Raj, pointed at the banner through the windshield. Looks fancy. You headed to the Turner reunion? I drove your mother yesterday. Very excited lady. He said it like a compliment. My stomach nodded. At the door, a volunteer in a polo flipped through a clipboard. Name: Robert Turner. He frowned. Guest list only. I laughed small. I'm family. Of course. He scanned again. Do you go by something else? I craned past him. Inside, a slideshow was already looping on a projector. Baby baths, first bikes, Henry at prom, Mia graduating. Faces I knew. Faces I loved. The banner above the buffet read Welcome, Turner's. A photo collage climbed the wall. In a corner frame, a beach picture. Our family lined up on a pier, sun in our eyes. Me, cropped at the shoulder. Just enough to show a hand that might be mine. The volunteer shifted. Sorry, man. Could you check with my mother? Marianne? He waved to the coordinator, Jenna, in a blue dress, cheeks flushed with hostess pride. Her smile faltered when she saw me. She walked over, eyes darting to the samosas. Oh, Robert, we didn't think you were coming. I RSVP'd, I said. Twice. Jenna's mouth did that careful shape our family uses for lies. Must have gone to spam. She turned to the volunteer. It's complicated. And then Mom appeared like a stage cue, glitter bracelet jangling. She looked at me, then at the crowd behind her, then at the tray in my hands. Robert, she said brightly, too loudly. What a surprise. Am I on the list? I asked. She didn't answer. She took the samosas from me as if to lighten my load, then passed them to Jenna without looking. We'll make a plate, she chirped, but it's really just immediate family today. I stared through the doorway at my own surname. I am immediate family, I said. Mom squeezed my arm, nails sweetly sharp. Don't start, she whispered. Not here. Behind her, the slideshow advanced to a family Christmas from 3 years ago. I remembered standing just off camera, holding the timer. The caption read, All of US. The volunteer shifted again. Sir. I stepped back onto the hot sidewalk. The door clicked behind me. Through the glass, I watched my mother lift a samosa to her mouth, laughing at something Henry said. In the reflection, I could see myself, small and ghosted over their faces. For the first time, It didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like policy. The Uber ride home was silent except for the sound of the samosa tray rattling beside me. Half empty, greasy fingerprints on the foil. I stared out the window while Raj, the same driver from before, hummed along to some Bollywood song. "Everything okay, my friend?" he finally asked. "Yeah, I lied. Family thing." He smiled sadly. Family is always complicated. When I got home, I put the tray on the counter, untouched, and sat down in the dark. The apartment felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I kept checking my phone, expecting a call, a text, an apology. Nothing. Just a string of new photos posted by Mia. Caption: Turner Reunion 2025. So much love. Each picture was worse than the last. There was my mother in her floral dress, Henry holding a beer, Jenna posing with the kids, everyone beaming. I zoomed in on one frame and saw the edge of my hand from that old photo again, cropped perfectly out. It wasn't an oversight. It was a pattern. I scrolled back through old texts. Birthdays missed. Messages ignored. My mother's constant oops. Thought I replied. Replies. The jokes about me being the quiet one, the helper, our sweet afterthought. They always said it with affection, as if acknowledging my invisibility made it acceptable. That night, I dreamed I was shouting in a crowded room, but no sound came out. Everyone was laughing, glasses clinking, my mouth open and useless. When I woke up, it was 4 a.m., and I sat in the kitchen until sunrise, staring at the samosas until they looked like props from someone else's story. The next few weeks were a blur. Mom sent a text. "Sorry about the mix-up at the reunion. Total misunderstanding. Love you." I didn't respond. Neither did Henry or Jenna. The family group chat kept moving without me. Recipes, photos of me as new haircut, church updates. I became a ghost member of my own lineage. Then one night, I ran into Henry at the grocery store. He looked startled, like I'd caught him stealing. "Hey, Rob," he said, stuffing his phone in his pocket. "Hey, long time." He nodded, shifting his weight. "Mom said you were mad about the reunion. You know how she gets. She didn't mean to leave you out." I stared at him. "Henry, my name wasn't on the list." He looked at the cereal aisle instead of me. "That's just how it turned out. We thought you were working that weekend." "I wasn't." "Well," he sighed, "you didn't exactly make it easy to plan with you." Something in me snapped, not loudly, but cleanly, like a twig underfoot. "You all knew," I said. "Don't pretend you didn't." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. "You always make everything about you, Rob. That's the problem." I laughed, but it came out sharp. "Everything's about you, Henry. Always has been." He rolled his cart past me. "You're overreacting." The words echoed long after he was gone. I could almost hear Mom's voice layered behind his, mocking, patient, dismissive. "Don't be so dramatic. It's not that deep. We love you, sweetie." When I got home, I deleted the family chat. Every photo, every text thread. The silence afterward was brutal, like stepping off a moving walkway and realizing the ground doesn't move for you anymore. But in that quiet, something shifted. For the first time, I felt the weight of their absence and realized it might be lighter than their presence. I stood up, took the trash out, then cleaned my entire kitchen until it gleamed. It was 2 a.m. when I finally stopped, leaning against the counter, sweaty and hollow. But for once, the hollowness felt honest. That night, I told myself a small truth I'd avoided for years. They never forgot me. They erased me. And I decided, without fanfare or fury, that I was done trying to exist in a family that kept cropping me out of the frame. The first week after I cut contact felt like detox. I kept reaching for my phone like a phantom limb, expecting the usual flood of family chatter. Mom's passive-aggressive memes, Henry's bragging about his new grill, Mia's constant selfies. But there was nothing. Just silence and the hum of my fridge. I started filling the space with small rituals. Every morning, I'd make my bed, open the blinds, and brew coffee strong enough to wake the dead. I began cooking real meals again, not just takeout or cereal. The first time I seared a piece of salmon perfectly, I caught myself whispering, "Good job," out loud. It felt awkward, like complimenting a stranger, but strangely healing. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into projects, volunteering for extra shifts, helping colleagues with reports. My boss, Clara, noticed. "You seem more focused lately," she said one afternoon. "Yeah," I replied. "I stopped waiting for people who don't see me." She blinked. That sounds profound. It's just true, I said, and meant it. Still, the loneliness crept in around the edges. I missed the chaos, even if it had poisoned me. One night, I found myself scrolling old photos again. Family dinners, holidays, fake smiles. I almost texted Mom. Instead, I opened my window, took a deep breath, and whispered, "You don't owe them your peace." That was the first night I slept through without dreaming of them. A few weeks later, Clara invited me to a small trivia night her friend group hosted at a bar downtown. "You'll like it," she said. "We need a history nerd." That's where I met Elise. She had the kind of laugh that turned heads. Loud, unapologetic, genuine. When she answered a question about 18th century treaties faster than I did, I jokingly accused her of cheating. She grinned and said, "I just read a lot of Wikipedia when I'm sad." We ended up talking long after the trivia ended, lingering over half-melted ice cubes and bad bar music. She didn't ask about my family, and I didn't offer. We talked about books, favorite foods, weird childhood memories. There was a warmth in her attention, real, steady, without performance. Over the next few weeks, we started seeing each other more. Coffee on Sundays, long walks by the river, cooking experiments that ended in hilarious failure. She noticed the small things I did, how I always cleaned up first, how I said sorry before voicing an opinion. One night, while we were washing dishes, she said softly, "You don't have to apologize for existing, you know." I froze, sponge in hand. Force of habit. She touched my wrist. "Then let's break it." Something in my chest unclenched. By October, my apartment looked different. Plants in the window, books stacked on the floor, art on the walls that I liked. Elise helped me paint one weekend, both of us ending up with more color on ourselves than on the wall. "You're starting to look like someone who belongs to himself," she said, smiling. That line stuck with me. Belonging to myself. What a strange, beautiful idea. I wasn't fully healed. I still had nights where the silence hurt, where I wondered if Mom thought of me, but I no longer checked my phone every 5 minutes. My world was getting bigger, and they were no longer the center of it. For the first time in years, I was living for something other than the hope of being noticed. And that was when the past decided to notice me. It started with a message from an unknown number. "Rob, it's Henry. Need to talk. Mom's been saying things. Please call me." My stomach sank. After all that peace, the ghosts were knocking again. When Henry's text came in, I stared at it for a full 5 minutes. My thumb hovered over delete. I'd promised myself I was done. No more second chances, no more explanations that ended with me apologizing for existing. But curiosity, that old, dangerous instinct, got the better of me. I called. He picked up on the second ring, his voice low and hesitant. "Hey, Rob." "Hey. Thanks for calling. I didn't think you would." I almost didn't. A pause. Then he sighed. "Look, I owe you an apology." That stopped me. Henry never apologized. He explained, justified, rationalized, but never apologized. "I don't even know where to start," he continued. "You were right about Mom. About the reunion and other stuff." My throat tightened. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "She's been telling everyone that you, chose to go no contact. That you said you didn't want to be part of the family anymore. She made it sound like you got dramatic and stormed off. People believed her." I laughed bitterly. Of course they did. She's been rewriting my life in real time for years. Henry exhaled. "Yeah, I didn't want to believe it. But yesterday, I overheard her on the phone with Aunt Linda. She said, Robert's always had issues. You know how he gets. We just try to give him space." My stomach twisted. I could hear Mom's tone perfectly. Sweet, reasonable, victimized. The voice that made people lean in and say, "Oh, poor Marianne, dealing with such a difficult son. Why are you telling me this now?" I asked quietly. "Because it's gotten worse," he said. "She told Mia that you were unstable, that we had to protect the kids from you." I went still. "She what?" "She said you'd been sending her angry messages. I haven't talked to her in months." "I know. That's why I'm calling." I went through her phone while she was in the kitchen. "She's been deleting your texts, the nice ones, the ones where you tried to reach out, and replacing them with screenshots from other conversations, cropped to look like you were being hostile." For a second, the room tilted. All the times she'd told me I was overreacting, all the times my siblings acted cold and distant, it had been engineered. She hadn't just erased me, she'd rewritten me. "Henry," I said, voice shaking. Why didn't you see this sooner? He sighed. Because she's good at it, Rob. She's Mom. She always makes herself the victim. I guess we wanted to believe her. There it was, the truth, raw and ugly. They'd believed her because it was easier than believing me. I'm sorry, he said again. I really am. I don't know what to do with that, I said honestly. He hesitated. Come to dinner next week. Mia's birthday. Everyone's going to be there. You deserve to tell your side. I almost said no. But then something in me, call it anger, call it survival, flared awake. Fine, I said. I'll come. After we hung up, I sat for a long time, the city lights flickering through my window. Elise came over later that night, and when I told her everything, she didn't interrupt. She just listened, her hand warm over mine. You're going to need proof, she said finally. If she's been manipulating them this long, words won't be enough. I nodded slowly. I have proof. Years of texts, messages, screenshots. I just never wanted to use them. Then maybe it's time you did. That night, I opened my laptop and started scrolling through every old message, every ignored text, every fake apology. It was all there, receipts of a lifetime of gaslighting. I created folders, labeled by year. By the time I finished, it was 3 a.m., and my desktop was filled with evidence. For the first time in my life, I felt something close to control. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, something steadier. Like the calm before a storm you've decided to walk straight into. I made coffee, turned on some quiet jazz, and opened my laptop again. The folder on my desktop, labeled Simply Truth, blinked back at me. Inside were thousands of little fragments of my life. Texts where I offered help and got no reply, emails from Mom, forgetting invitations, messages where I was the punchline. It was strange, seeing my own history laid out like evidence in a courtroom. Every message was small on its own, but together they told the story I'd been gaslit out of believing. I started compiling. A section labeled Erased Events, screenshots of every gathering I hadn't been told about, each one captioned with dates that lined up perfectly with my accidental exclusions. Another folder, Gaslight Chronicles, text threads where Mom twisted my words into guilt trips. And my favorite, Rewrites, where she changed the narrative of events in group chats. Like the time I brought Dad to his checkup, and she told everyone Henry had handled everything. By noon, I had it all organized into a neat digital dossier. Elise came by with sandwiches and peered over my shoulder. You're building a case, she said, half admiring, half worried. I'm building clarity, I replied. They've lived off my silence for years. It's time I stopped feeding it. She placed a hand on my shoulder. Just promise you'll stay calm. Truth hits harder when it's quiet. I nodded. Over the next few days, I refined everything, added timestamps, cross-referenced photos, even printed the most telling messages. Each page went into a clear plastic sleeve, labeled by year. It was meticulous, maybe obsessive, but it felt cleansing. For once, the chaos had order. When I was done, I bought a pack of simple brown envelopes, one for each family member, Mom, Henry, Jenna, and Mia. I slid their respective receipts inside, sealing them with small stickers. Elise helped me print a single cover letter for each. The note was simple. I didn't leave. I was left out. This is the truth you've all been told to ignore. The night before Mia's birthday dinner, I stood in front of the mirror, wearing the same shirt I'd ironed for the reunion months ago. It felt poetic, like reclaiming something that had been stolen. Elise adjusted my collar. You don't owe them rage, she said softly. Just truth. I know, I said. I'm not going to yell. I'm going to show them. The restaurant was one of those suburban family spots. Too bright, too cheerful, the smell of garlic bread inescapable. I arrived early and asked for a table for 7. The hostess gave me a hesitant smile. When they arrived, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Mom froze mid-step when she saw me. Henry's jaw tightened. Jenna's eyes darted to Mom for direction. Mia, bless her, looked surprised but not angry. Robert, Mom said, her voice dripping sugar. You came. I was invited this time, I said quietly. Progress. She laughed, brittle and false. Let's just have a nice dinner, okay? No drama. Sure, I said, sitting down. No drama. We ordered. Small talk trickled. Mia's college plans, Henry's new car, Jenna's toddler learning to walk. It was almost normal, except for the tension vibrating beneath every word. When the server brought the check, I pulled the envelopes from my bag and placed one in front of each of them. "What's this?" Mom asked, the smile faltering. "Something I should have done a long time ago." Henry frowned. "Rob." I raised a hand. "No speeches. Just read." Mom hesitated, then slid open her envelope. Her eyes moved over the pages, her expression tightening. Henry opened his next, flipping faster, color draining from his face. Silence spread across the table like ink. Finally, I spoke. "You said I left." "I didn't. You erased me, and you all let her do it." No yelling, no tears, just the truth, spoken clearly enough that it couldn't be ignored. Mom's lips parted, trembling slightly. "Robert, this is taken out of context." I met her eyes. "It's all context. The one you built to make me disappear." The restaurant noise swelled around us, but at our table, the world was utterly still. For the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen. The silence after I spoke was thick enough to choke on. Mia was the first to move. She pushed her plate away and flipped through the pages in her envelope, her eyes darting from one message to another. "Mom," she said quietly, "did you really say he wasn't coming because he makes everyone uncomfortable?" Mom's face twitched, her mask cracking at the edges. "Sweetheart, you don't understand. Those were jokes, just family humor." Henry let out a sharp breath. "Mom, some of these aren't jokes. You told Aunt Linda he was emotionally unstable. You told me he didn't want us at Dad's memorial. You said he asked for space." Her voice sharpened. "He did ask for space." I leaned back. "After you cropped me out of the photo." That landed like a slap. Jenna tried to interject, but her voice faltered. She was staring at a text screenshot I'd labeled the reunion thread. It showed Henry's original message. "Let's keep it simple, no drama. Mom says just us four this time." Jenna looked at Henry. "You knew?" Henry dropped his head. I didn't think he'd see it. Mia's chair scraped against the floor as she stood. "I can't believe you all lied to me." Mom's tone shifted instantly, smooth, maternal, manipulative. "Mia, honey, don't get caught up in Robert's bitterness. He's just hurt." "No," Mia said, voice trembling. "He's right." The entire table seemed to vibrate with years of unspoken tension. The waiter hovered nearby, wisely retreating. I stood, gathering what was left of my calm. "I'm not here to fight. I just wanted the truth to be seen. You can do whatever you want with it. But I'm done pretending I'm crazy." Mom's eyes flashed, something between panic and rage. "After everything I've done for you? You come here to humiliate me? In front of your siblings?" "I came here," I said evenly, "because you've been telling people I abandoned you." "I didn't. You erased me, and you lied about it." For once, she had no script. Just silence. Elise, quiet until now, placed a steady hand on my arm. "Robert," she said softly, "let's go." We turned to leave. That's when I heard Mia call after me. "Hey, Rob." I stopped. "Thank you," she said, "for not giving up on telling the truth." Her voice cracked on the last word, and I realized she was crying. We walked out of that restaurant into the cold evening air. I didn't look back, but I could feel their world collapsing behind me. The sound of chairs scraping, of voices raised, of a story unraveling. The next day, the fallout began. Aunt Linda called first. "Robert, I just saw the messages. I'm shocked. I always thought you were distant, but now I see what was really happening." Then came texts from cousins I hadn't heard from in years. "We're so sorry. We didn't know." Even the pastor from Mom's church emailed me, carefully worded, full of regret. Apparently, Mom's been posting vague forgiveness quotes on Facebook, and people were asking questions. Henry called again, his voice hollow. "You detonated a bomb," he said. "No," I said quietly. "Mom built the bomb. I just stopped carrying it." He didn't argue. Later that week, Jenna texted too. Just 3 words. "I believe you now." It didn't fix everything, but it was something. That weekend, Elise and I drove to the coast. We walked along the water, the wind tangling her hair, gulls shrieking overhead. For the first time in years, I felt light, like someone had peeled a heavy coat off my shoulders. Elise slipped her hand into mine. "How do you feel?" I smiled. Like I finally stepped out of a photo I never belonged in. She laughed softly. "You belong here instead." And I did. For the first time, I believed it. The days that followed were stranger than anything I could have planned. The truth didn't just stay in that restaurant. It spread like perfume spilled on carpet, seeping into every corner of the family. At first, Mom went quiet, which was how I knew she was panicking. Then came the performance. Her Facebook filled with cryptic posts. Family is complicated, but forgiveness is divine. Sometimes people twist your kindness to hurt you. God knows the truth. I didn't comment. I didn't have to. The comments beneath told the story for me. Aunt Linda, we've all seen the screenshots, Marianne. Maybe it's time to stop pretending. Cousin Drew, accountability is forgiveness. Even Mia chimed in. Mom, please stop. This isn't helping. By the third day, Mom's entire narrative was collapsing in real time. Each misunderstanding punctured by someone who'd seen the receipts. She started deleting comments, then entire posts. Henry called again, voice tight. She's losing it, Rob. She says you're ruining the family's reputation. She ruined it. I said, I just turned on the lights. He didn't disagree. Meanwhile, Jenna sent me a long email. She'd started therapy, she said. Reading through my folder had been like getting punched in the soul. She admitted she'd always suspected Mom played favorites, but convinced herself it was in her head. I see now that I helped her erase you, she wrote. And I'm sorry. For a moment, I didn't know what to do with that. I'd imagined anger, maybe tears, but not remorse. I typed back. Thank you. It's not about punishing anyone. I just want honesty. Then Mia called one night, crying softly. Dad would have hated this, she said. He always said Mom was the best liar he ever met. I didn't know that. He said that. Yeah, after the divorce. He told me once, your mother edits reality until it fits her reflection. That line stuck with me. It explained everything. By the end of the month, the entire Turner clan was fractured. Some relatives cut contact with Mom entirely. Others reached out to me quietly, apologizing for believing the wrong version. Even her church, her stage, her audience started to pull away. Apparently, the pastor had asked her to step back from leadership roles. The woman who'd spent decades controlling every story suddenly had no story left to control. Meanwhile, my life was blooming in quiet ways. Elise and I hosted our first dinner party, just a few friends, laughter spilling into candlelight. When one of them asked about my family, I didn't flinch. I just said, we're complicated, and smiled. A few weeks later, I got a handwritten letter. The envelope was thin, elegant, in Mom's familiar cursive. For a long time, I just stared at it. Elise found me sitting on the couch, holding it like a live wire. Are you going to open it? She asked. I nodded slowly. Inside was a single page. Robert, you've made your point. I hope you're proud. Families forgive, even when others try to destroy them. I'll always be your mother, whether you like it or not. Mom. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just the same control disguised as righteousness. I folded the letter carefully and slid it back into the envelope. Then I dropped it in the trash. Elise watched silently. You okay? Yeah, I said. For once, I am. That night, we sat on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket, city lights blinking below. For the first time, I felt the peace of not needing to fix someone else's chaos. The truth had rippled outward, shaking everything. But it had also cleared space. Space for something new. 2 weeks after Mom's letter, I got an unexpected voicemail. It was Aunt Linda. Robert, your mother came by today. She's different. You should hear her out. I didn't plan to, but curiosity, again, got the better of me. When I arrived, Mom was sitting in Aunt Linda's garden, the same floral dress from the reunion hanging loose on her. She looked smaller somehow, deflated. Robert, she said quietly. No theatrics. No fake warmth. Just my name. I'm not here to fight, I said. I know. She exhaled, shaky. You embarrassed me. But you were right. I did lie. I waited. I told myself I was protecting you, she said. From disappointment, from rejection. But really, I just didn't want to be the bad guy. There it was, the first real truth she'd ever spoken to me. I don't hate you, I said. But I can't go back to pretending. She nodded, eyes glassy. I don't expect you to. We sat in silence for a long time. Birds chirped. The wind rustled. For once, she didn't try to rewrite the moment. When I left, she said softly, You're stronger than I ever was. Driving home, I didn't feel vindicated. Just free. The kind of peace that comes when you stop needing closure and realize you already have it. That night, Elise handed me a mug of tea and smiled. You look lighter. I think I finally stopped fighting a war that ended years ago, I said. And for the first time, I believed it. It's funny how peace doesn't arrive with fireworks. It sneaks in, quiet and ordinary. One morning you just wake up and realize your first thought isn't about who hurt you. It's about whether the sun looks good on your kitchen floor. That's how the new life began. Elise and I fell into an easy rhythm: Sunday markets, game nights with friends, long drives to nowhere. I started joining a local hiking group, something I'd always wanted to do but never did because family weekends were mandatory. Now, those weekends were mine. The first hike, I met a guy named Sam who joked too much but meant well. By the second, I had people saving me a seat at the campfire. Someone handed me a cup of cocoa and said, "You're one of us now." I didn't realize until later how much that sentence meant. Work changed too. Clara promoted me to project lead, saying, "You've come alive this year." I smiled because she was right. Without the constant drain of trying to prove myself to people who'd already decided not to see me, I had energy again. Creativity. Drive. Elise noticed it too. One night, while we were cooking dinner, she said, "You laugh differently now." "How so?" I asked, stirring sauce. "It sounds real. Like it belongs to you." We hosted a Friendsgiving that year, our own version of family. Clara brought wine, Sam made his terrible stuffing, and everyone crowded into our little apartment. When the night wound down, Elise raised her glass and said, "To chosen family." Everyone echoed her. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was on the edge of the photo. I was right there, in the center, surrounded by people who actually wanted me there. Later that night, I got a text from Mia. "Hey Rob, we're doing our own small Christmas this year. Just me, Jenna, and Henry. No mom. We'd love for you to come." I stared at it for a while, not out of hesitation, but awe. The family that once erased me was slowly learning to see me again, not because I begged for space, but because I stopped chasing it. I replied, "Yeah, I'd like that." When I told Elise, she smiled. "Sounds like progress." "Maybe," I said. "But even if it isn't, I'll be okay." She kissed my forehead. "That's the difference, isn't it?" It was. That Christmas, I did go. It was awkward at first, nervous laughter, cautious small talk. But there was something new in the air. Respect, maybe. Understanding. Mom wasn't there, and her absence didn't feel like a wound anymore. It felt like breathing room. When we took a photo at the end of the night, Jenna handed me the phone. "You set the timer," she said. I laughed. "You sure you want me in it this time?" She grinned. Front and center. And that's where I stood. Click. A new picture, a new frame. This time, no one was cropped out. That photo, me standing between my siblings, smiling without faking it, became a quiet symbol of something I never thought I'd have again: belonging without begging. But even then, I knew my story wasn't about being accepted by them anymore. It was about finding peace whether they stood beside me or not. Weeks passed. Life settled into something warm and steady. Elise and I moved into a bigger place, a little apartment with creaky floors and too many windows. On weekends, we'd cook together, music humming low, her voice mingling with the scent of garlic and thyme. One Sunday in early December, I unpacked an old box from storage. Inside were faded family photos, bent cards, and a handful of letters, remnants of the life I used to orbit around. At the bottom, tucked between Christmas cards, was that cropped beach picture from years ago. My hand, just half of it, still visible on the edge. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt distance. A healthy kind, like looking at an old scar and realizing it no longer hurts. Elise came up behind me. "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, I think I finally am." She smiled. "You sure you want to keep that one?" I looked at the photo again. "Yeah," I said, slipping it into a new frame. "But this time, it's going on my wall." That Christmas, we hosted our own dinner again. Friends, laughter, music spilling into the night. Clara brought her famous tiramisu. Sam wore a ridiculous Santa hat, and Elise kept stealing my fork. At one point, Mia FaceTimed us from her apartment, showing the small tree she and Jenna had decorated. Henry popped into frame, grinning awkwardly. "Next year, we'll all do something together," Mia said. "Maybe," I replied with a smile. "One step at a time." After the call, Elise poured me a glass of wine and said, "You built something beautiful, Rob." I looked around, at the crowded table, the laughter, the light bouncing off our walls. "Yeah," I said softly, and no one had to be cropped out for it to fit. Later that night, when everyone had gone home, I stepped out onto the balcony. Snow had started to fall, soft and slow, muffling the city noise below. I thought about everything. The years of trying, the silence, the lies, the moment I finally stopped needing their approval. The pain had turned into something else entirely. Clarity, strength, freedom. I whispered it to the night, the final truth of it all. I don't need to be in your photo to prove I exist. And with that, I closed the door, leaving the cold outside and stepping into a home built on peace, love, and the kind of quiet that doesn't hurt anymore. The end.